Well, it's Saturday the 3rd of May. Unfortunately, we've lost that sun. I think only for a short time, but worse than that, the winds have come back as well. So we're just looking out for us plants at the moment and moving them into shelter as we need to. We do tend to get some gusting winds in this area, so just be aware of that. Any tender plants as well, put them somewhere where they're not constantly being hit by wind. However, it doesn't stop us getting on with more bits and bobs today. And today, I'm going to repot this. Probably the only type of chili pepper that I can eat. I'm not a massive fan of hot peppers. That's about as far as I go. And you can see this plant is really healthy looking, and it's done the trademark thing that all peppers do. They split off into a Y. So now when you look at it closely, you can see that we've got all these little side shoots that are starting to appear. They're going to make more branches, help this plant bush out as well. So at that stage, plenty of true leaves on this plant, fresh growth on top and in between those branches. It's time to move it on, I think. We want to get this plant growing as quick as we can. However, since that temperature has dropped a little bit and we've got bad winds, I'll be putting that back in propagator. There is a certain degree of shock to a plant when you move it on, especially when you have to free off those roots if it's got to that stage. So in that case, I would keep it out of direct sunlight and definitely wind and let it have 24 hours or so to recover. Hopefully by next week, then winds will drop and we've got that sun back. So for now, let's go and get this potted on. This is the container I'm going to put it in. It's not a bad size, and we have got plenty of holes in bottom. So lots of drainage, which is really important with peppers. They don't like to be sat in damp compost consistently. And this is just basic multi-purpose compost. We don't use anything fancy. So it's just a case of filling up this container to the depth that we need. Don't fill it right at the top though, because we need to get this planting. I think that will about do it. I'll pop this out, see what the roots is like. As you can see, plenty of roots. It's not root bound, and that's because we already potted it on once. But you can see those roots have got back down to the bottom already. So it's time for another move. So I'm just going to put this in and use it as a marker. So just below the rim of that pot is where we need it to be. And then we can just drop that plant straight in. And we've got it nicely centred. And then it's just a case of backfilling. If you find that your peppers are a little bit leggy, you can bury a bit of that stem. I'm taking it down to these first leaves that came because the plant's not leggy. But those leaves are now redundant, so we don't need them anymore. And then we'll firm it down, because peppers like a firm base to grow in, and leaving that gap so water doesn't just pour over the top. A really quick job, and that's as pepper moved on again, and in no time it will start putting on extra growth. And if you wanted to, you could pinch these leaves off the bottom. They've done their job, so no longer required. So I'll let that settle in, and then I'll give it a little bit of feed. I'll probably just add some tomato food to this, just to give it a little boost to nutrition. And as I was saying, because it is a little cooler, we'll pop it in this propagator. I've also got this old polystyrene box, which is great when your peppers are just in 2 litre pots, because we can pop them into there and that gives them a little bit of extra protection while they get established. So this has got removable shelves, which is great. So if we want to put any taller plants in, we can just take that shelf away, drop it in, and we're all good. It's also good if you've got a bit of bubble wrap, so if it drops cold, you could just put that around your plants as well. That's going to help insulate them a little bit more. And that potato plant's really coming on now, and I buried that again only a couple of days ago, and it's soon come back through, so its potatoes are definitely on way. And then we've got these backups, as I call them. We've got multi-sown beetroot, and there's some spring onions there as well. And we've also got some lettuce that we grew from seed, so we can use those for that green stalk planter once the ones that we've got growing at the minute are finished. For now, we'll just keep it out of that wind. That raspberry bush has really come on well. As you can see, it's now trying to produce. And its peas are halfway up that cane already. They're petit pois. I've also got all these to do as well. These are all as sweet bell peppers. All starting to get buds on top now. So it's time to start moving some of these into those same size containers. We have got quite a few to go at. And now we've got loads and loads of flowers on the strawberry plants. And this is a green stalk planter at the moment, full of flower, with some big lettuces. And we have started cutting some of these lettuces, taking away the biggest leaves and letting the smaller ones grow on. And the same with this red lettuce as well. If you keep cutting, they'll keep producing. And then we can start replacing things with those ones that we've got growing on in trays. That way we'll never be without fresh homegrown salad. I've also set another container of French beans up. Nice healthy looking plants. I just hope they don't suffer with any windburn, and that's the tender green ones. So they're full size French bean plants. This is that container we did for pea shoots. Unfortunately, I think I might have left it a little long. So what I'm going to do is just leave it and see if it produces any pods, even though it has been planted so compact. And that's the last two peppers that we did into those bigger containers. So just at the beginning of May, and everything is looking great. Those are those little spinach plants we put in recently. Look how much size they've put on. They're now ready for cutting as well. So we can have beet leaves, salad leaves and spinach. A nice mixture of healthy homegrown food. There's something that I think is definitely worth mentioning when it comes to chili peppers, and that's the heat. Not all plants are the same. The unit of heat is measured on what's called a Scoville scale. So the higher the number, the hotter the fruit. The ones I've just done come in at around 3,000 units, up to 8,000. But a few years ago, I grew some plants called Carolina Reaper, and they was one of the hottest, if not the hottest, in the world. And what they measure on the Scoville scale is 2.2 million. So a very hot pepper, far too hot for me. I just grew them to see how they'd do. They actually did quite well. It's just unfortunate I wasn't able to eat any. However, if you do like your spicy foods, you can take a little bit off and add it to a curry. And I think that's all you'll need. So I stick to the milder varieties. And if you look on the backs of your tags when you buy these plants or research it online, you can find out what that Scoville unit measurement is. You don't want to be growing plants that you realise are no good to you after all that effort when you start harvesting. So it's always best to do a little bit of research before you buy your chili plants and get them underway. So it's definitely a lot cooler, and as you may have noticed, a bit blustery as well. But thanks to that week or more of warmth and sun that we've had, you can see just how much growth those plants have put on. Everything is going great. And for the fast growing things like as salads, they're just going to keep going and going. they will reach a point where the plant becomes exhausted. So that is why we've got other trays with little plugs growing away. When we reach that point, we can just pull those plants out and pop in fresh ones. We'll never have to buy any salad all the way through summer. So as we move further into May, with fingers crossed for those temperatures going up and up, everything is going to start growing even faster. And if you're interested in seeing what we're going to be doing as we go through May, then please hit that subscribe button and press that notifications bell. And I'll see you on the next one. Enjoy your weekend.